The following video has got all the information you need to know going into Game Week 7. We're going to talk about Carlton Morris, Saka and Maddison's injuries, and the top players by position for expected points. Starting off then, we've got the top players by position for expected points, and the top goalkeeper for Game Week 7 is Kaminski of Luton. With his fixtures against Everton and Burnley, obviously reasonable chance of clean sheets, obviously considering the quality of the opposition, and he's averaging, I think, just over 3 saves a game, so the Draft Hound algorithm expecting him to have a good game week alongside Trafford. I mean, basically, if Trafford plays both games, doesn't concede too many goals, he'll probably end up with around 4 points, so I think the expected points totals for these players makes perfect sense. Raya is looking like a good option at 4.8 million. It looks like he's taken the spot of Ramsdale in goal for Arsenal. Unfortunately, though, Arsenal don't have the best fixture run coming up. The same can't be said, though, for Pope and Newcastle. They look great defensively and have some good fixtures. Areola definitely proven to be the best of the cheap goalkeepers. And with Sheffield United at home, seeing how they played against Newcastle, you got to think he could keep a clean sheet in that one. Edison, Sanchez, Pickford, Onana and Leno round off the goalkeepers. On now to the defenders, and of course, following on from his triple assist and clean sheet against Sheffield United, Kieran Trippier tops the list for defenders, 7 expected points in Game Week 7. Then the list basically is dominated by Luton and Burnley defenders. I think it makes sense given they've got a couple of fixtures, just even a smidgen chance of a clean sheet in either of those games. Obviously, the kind of baseline expected points will be 4 because they're playing 2 games each. And then any sort of smidgen chance for clean sheet will be extra. So that's kind of reflected there in the expected points. The other defender to note, Botman of Newcastle as well, 5.8 expected points for him. Not quite as much as Trippier, of course, for the lower goal threat that he has, but he's still a great option. Midfielders now, and of course he's a doubt, and we will talk about him as we get through the video. But Saka, currently, should he play this weekend, is top for expected points for the midfielders with 7. Salah in second, 6.8. I think the fact that Spurs have improved a heck of a lot on where they were last season has sort of retracted Salah's expected points there. But I think with 6.8 expected points, he's pretty much expected to return in that game regardless. Son Coliesho, I think is how you pronounce his name. I've not actually heard of this player. 5 million for Burnley, but he's right up the top here. Rashford, Foden, Bowen, Gordon, Ward-Prowse and Odegaard. West Ham's fixtures actually interestingly take a bit of a swing now and get quite good. Both Bowen and Ward-Prowse are having very decent seasons. There's just so many midfield options, so it is difficult to get them into your team, but they're both players that I'm definitely eyeing up. Forwards then, and it's no surprise to see Erling Haaland top of the list. Wolves away, decent fixture for him, and he's top for expected points. In second place, we've got Carlton Morris. I'll talk a little bit more about him as we get through this video as well. He's got 7.4 expected points. Almarej, Amdouni, Watkins, Antonio Wilson, Jesus, Nketiah and Edouard top the forwards. Who's the best captain this week then? In my opinion, it's Erling Haaland. We'll talk a little bit more detail about Morris as we get through the video, but his non-penalty expected goals data is pretty terrible, to be honest. So basically, if Morris doesn't get a penalty in Game Week 7, he's probably not going to score a goal, whereas Haaland, we all know the threat he has both from penalties and open play. So basically, if you're going to captain Morris, you're kind of hedging on him getting penalties in both of those games. Obviously, that's very possible, but I'd rather hedge on a proven goal scorer, even though he's only got one fixture in Erling Haaland than Morris. Trippier, Saka, Salah and Son are up there as well, but I think this week, realistically, there's only 2 captaincy options. A quick look at the clean sheet odds then, and I never expected to see this, but Everton are top of the tree for clean sheet odds in Game Week 7. Well, certainly in the one fixture they've got. 50% likely to keep a clean sheet against Luton, according to Draft Hound. That might sway you a little bit on whether you captain Morris or not, and you can see Burnley there as well. Their second fixture being against Luton. They've got a 33% chance of a clean sheet in that game, so that might give you an idea as to both the expected points there and the goal-scoring chances of Morris. Newcastle, another team on 50%. Burnley at home, very good fixture. Man City, Wolves away on 48. West Ham on 44. Luton, combined, if you add up the percentages, obviously they're in 4th place. Man United, Burnley, Arsenal, Chelsea and Brentford. and then Nottingham Forest on 31 as well. Usually, I don't like to pick defenders from teams below 30%, but you can see there's a whole load of teams there. Clean sheet odds above 30. I kind of covered this guy when I went over the captaincy, to be honest, or the main talking point about him. Now, Carlton Morris, I think, is going to be a really popular transfer in, and I can definitely see why people want to do it. I mean, if you've got someone like João Pedro, who isn't guaranteed to start, Morris is the same price as Pedro, so it makes sense you could do a sideways transfer. I mean, the benefit of Morris, right, is that he's nailed to start and he will play every minute for Luton, so you don't have to worry, providing, of course, he doesn't get injured in any of these games. You don't have to worry about him, being a surprise rotation or going on the bench, etc. However, his non-penalty expected goals data from the 6 games that he's played now is pretty woeful, to be honest. 0.9. So, yeah, the question is, do you want to pick a player that's played 5 Premier League games now, sorry, because they did miss a game week, didn't they? 5 Premier League games and has got an expected goals of less than 1 when he doesn't take a penalty. So basically, as I said, what you're expecting if you captain him is you want him to get a penalty because he's not really going to score from anything else. That's not enough for me to captain him. However, I think it is enough for me to pick him. I don't think he's a terrible transfer in, particularly if you're looking to wildcard in Game Week 8, because you transfer him in for this week, then you don't have to worry about him for the future. So Maddison and Saka, both very highly owned players and both a potential injury doubt for the weekend. I would personally say Saka is more of a doubt than Maddison. Simple fact, Maddison carried on playing after his injury and the manager said it was basically precautionary. He was taken off because he wasn't 100% in the derby, and obviously when you're playing in the North London derby, you want to be 100%. Given how cautious Spurs were the last time Maddison was injured, I don't know if you remember, he walked off from the stadium in crutches, basically with a minor injury, and then he was fit the weekend after. I think Maddison will be fit. Saka, however, he's not going to play midweek in the Cup. He's missed training so far this week, and Arteta has said he is a doubt for the Bournemouth fixture. Basically, I don't think there's anything we can do at this stage. I wouldn't want to make a prediction on whether Saka can play against Bournemouth or not. We simply have to wait as the week goes on. Team News and Ticks on Twitter is a very good leak account for lineups. He also is heavily affiliated, I don't know how, with Arsenal, and he's an Arsenal fan as well. So he will be, in my opinion, the source to tell us whether Saka is in the team or not on Saturday. We'll also have a press conference from Arteta. The press conference he made his previous comments on before the Cup game. He will do another presser before the Premier League games start. So we'll hopefully know a bit more from that. Maddison, I think, will play. Saka, I don't want to jump to a conclusion. I think we need more information, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a leak. All right, and that's the end of the video. That should have covered all the hot topics, really, in my opinion, going into Game Week 7. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if there's anything I missed that you want to know the answer to, I can reply in the comments as well. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating. I'd really appreciate that, and I'd also really appreciate if you could subscribe to the Golden Goal channel just there. And I'll catch you in my next video.